Most respected Thai, dear Sangha, today is the 11th of May in the year 2023, and we are in the Upper Hamlet, and today is a special day. Please send your energy to the sky and the clouds so that we have not too much rain. Today is the day for bathing the Buddha. Sometimes we call Vesak. So now we will enjoy the sound of the bell. With my one-pointed mind, I come back to my true home. I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. So, dear Sangha, exactly 60 years ago, that is in 1963, in Vietnam, it was not easy it was not even allowed to organize the bathing of the Buddha, the Vesak ceremony. There was a despotic Catholic regime that did not allow the Buddhists to practice. And there were demonstrations that were violently put down with the death of the demonstrators. So today we feel very fortunate that we can celebrate with our whole heart the bathing of the Buddha. And as we celebrate, we might like to remember the people who protested, who immolated themselves, so that Buddhism could continue to be practiced in Vietnam, and that is our tradition. So we feel gratitude today. We did not have a chant at the beginning. Brother Minhee told me, you have to finish at 10:30. And so I said, well, if we have chanting, it won't be very long. And he said, oh, we won't have any chanting. However, it is really nice to hear some music, even if it's not very well chanted. So we better start in English and then maybe Vietnamese. Let the Buddha breathe. Let the Buddha sit. I don't need to breathe. I don't need to sit. The Buddha is breathing. I enjoy the breathing. The Buddha is sitting. I enjoy the sitting. The Buddha is the breathing. I am the breathing. The Buddha is the sitting. I am the sitting. There is only breathing. There is only sitting. There is no one breathing. There is no one sitting. Peace while breathing. Joy while sitting. Peace is the breathing. Joy is the sitting. Peace is the breathing. Joy is the sitting. Tiếng Việt.
Đê Bụt thở, đê Bụt đi, mình khỏi thở, mình khỏi đi, khỏi đi. Bụt đang thở, Bụt đang đi, mình được thở, mình được đi, được đi. Bụt là thở, Bụt là đi, mình là thở, mình là đi, là đi. Chỉ có thở, chỉ có đi, không người thở, không người đi, người đi. An khi thở, lạc khi đi, an là thở,
Thank you. So, dear Sangha, we are practicing today to recognize our Buddha nature. Last Sunday, I think Taiman, he reminded us that this week we can practice to recognize our Buddha nature. The question is, how quickly can we recognize our Buddha nature? So the exercise that we have just been singing is left to us by Thai. And it involves the historical dimension, the ultimate dimension, and maybe also the dimension of action. There was a day in Seoul, in South Korea, when Thai had to lead the walking meditation for I don't know how many people, maybe thousands of people. in the university. Huh? And there were so many cameramen surrounding Thai, television cameras. Yeah, and Thai have to lead the walking meditation and could not see any way ahead. Just cameras. So at that time, Thai said they would let the Buddha walk. I sang in English, let the Buddha sit, but we can also let the Buddha walk. And somehow there was a place for Thai to walk. Thai didn't say out loud, let the Buddha walk. He said Thai himself. Yeah. Because sometimes we don't have the Buddha eye that can see the way out, the way to walk. Yeah. But we can find the Buddha eye in ourselves by remembering the Buddha. We've all heard about the Buddha, we've all read about the Buddha. And somehow that reading about the Buddha, hearing about the Buddha, has planted a seed in us, or has watered, we should say, watered a seed in us. And when we say the name Buddha, that seed is watered and we remember, oh, that is how the Buddha saw things. One time, a friend of mine was undergoing chemotherapy, and it caused a lot of discomfort. And I asked her, what do you practice when you feel that discomfort? And she said, the only practice that works for me is let the Buddha breathe. I don't have to breathe. So it seems that very quickly we can find that Buddha seed and water that Buddha seed, and it will come up. But at first, we think that is the Buddha. That is the Buddha who is breathing. That is the Buddha who is walking. And then we feel, oh, but that breathing, that walking, which I call the Buddha, is also something that's happening in me, and I can enjoy it. So there's a me and there's a Buddha in those first two verses. And then we begin to see something else. Buddha is the breathing. Buddha is the walking. How is Buddha manifesting in this moment? Obviously, that human being who was born 2,500 and I don't know how many years, can anybody remind me? No, 60 years ago, that being is not actually appearing, manifesting now. But the way the Buddha walked, which has been handed down from generation to generation, to Ananda and then to Ananda disciples and so on, all that time has been handed down. That way of walking has been handed down to us by our teacher, and now it can manifest in that present moment. So Buddha is the walking. And then we think, well, I actually am walking. So we have to say something like, I am the walking. Yeah. So I'm kind of becoming one with the Buddha. Buddha is the walking. I am the walking. Maybe you will be a little bit confused at that time when you first start to do this meditation. But later on you will think, oh, I don't need to distinguish. I don't need to discriminate between Buddha and myself. So in the first two verses I was making that discrimination, and now I have to make the transition where I don't discriminate between the Buddha and myself. It is the same when you practice touching the earth. The one who bows, that is me, and the one who is bowed to, that is the Buddha, are both by nature empty of a separate self. And therefore the communication between us is wonderful, is perfect, is perfected. So when we touch the earth, we let go of that idea, that discrimination between who is Buddha and who is me. And we can touch that Buddha seed in ourselves straight away, as long as we can let go of our idea of a separate self. After the prince Siddhartha became enlightened at the foot of the Bodhi tree, one thought that came to the Buddha was, how strange. We all have that, all human beings, all species have that enlightened nature, but are not aware of it. So today, according to the Vietnamese tradition, we practice the nativity, the birth of the Buddha. But recently, all Buddhists throughout the world wanted to unite and to practice what we call Vesak. That is the full moon day of the solar month of May. So we can feel united, all different Buddhist schools. So in the southern transmission of Buddhism, that is in Sri Lanka and Burma, Myanmar and Thailand, the tradition is that the same day the Buddha is born as Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha becomes enlightened, and the Buddha passes into nirvana, all on the same day. We celebrate all on the same day. So in the northern transmission, you have one day to celebrate the birth, one day to celebrate the enlightenment, and one day to celebrate the passing into nirvana. But now we agree we all come together. So if you want to celebrate today all those three things of the Buddha, then please feel free to do so. Yeah. So how strange. All of us, living beings, and maybe we don't distinguish between living beings and non-living beings anymore. We all have the awakened nature, but we don't realize it. So this practice, that the Buddha is a practice for us to see that, yes, the awakened nature is there. But not only to see that it is there in what I call me, but also to see that it is there in what everyone else calls me. And so we have a bodhisattva who is called Sada Paribhuta. He is the bodhisattva of constant respect. And that bodhisattva, whenever he looks at anyone, sees the Buddha nature in that person. Sometimes when someone is a little bit difficult for us, we do not see the Buddha nature in that person. We see another nature, which is called the Mara nature. Mara is the opposite of the Buddha. So actually we all have the Mara nature. That is something we have to recognize. When we say we have the Buddha nature, it does not mean that we do not have the Mara nature. That is the unenlightened nature. This morning we read the discourse in the Lower Hamlet. We read the discourse on the 5 ways of putting an end to anger. It's to help us see the Buddha nature. And then in the 4th way of putting an end to anger, there is someone whose bodily actions are not kind, whose speech is not kind, and whose thinking does not seem to have any kindness in it. If we are angry with that person and we are wise, we will know how to practice in order to put an end to our anger. Bhikkhus, suppose there is a person who is making a long journey. The village he has left is far behind, and his destination is far in front. And on the way, that person falls very sick. He cannot continue his journey. And lying down by the side of the road, he has to come to terms with the fact that he is going to die. But someone else comes along and sees that man's situation and says, I'm going to help you, my friend. So he lifts up, he supports that man, take him to the nearest village. And when they arrive in the nearest village, he provides him with medicine, with the food he needs, with a place to lie down and get better. And thanks to that, that man's life is saved. So, bhikkhus, when you see someone whose bodily actions are not kind, whose words are not kind, and whose thinking is not kind, you should know that that person suffers very deeply. And it is only by showing your compassion for that person that they will be able to be released from their suffering. That is the practice of Shariputra, the senior disciple of the Buddha. He practiced very deeply and very well. So that when he came across someone who was very jealous of him and slandered him, then he was able to practice like this. That is. So we look at somebody sometimes and we see, oh, they just have the Mara nature. But we need to look again. And we need to see that that person has why do they have that Mara nature? Because they are suffering. And when we can understand the depth of that suffering, then we will be able to give rise to compassion. And that compassion will naturally show us the way, will open our Buddha eye so that we can see the way to helping that person suffer less, transform their suffering. And that is why we say that understanding is compassion. But that understanding, it needs to have compassion in it and not be separate from compassion. Because sometimes we say, oh yes, I understand that person, I understand their suffering, but still I cannot feel compassion for them. I cannot forgive them. That is because in that understanding, the compassion is not there. still, it is good if you have a difficulty with someone, you only see their Mara nature. It is good if you can say, just with your intellect, that person has the Buddha nature. The Buddha has taught me that. Thai has taught me that. The Sangha has taught me that. And if you can say that, at least it will not completely block your view to, your idea will not completely block your view to the Buddha nature in the other person. So let the Buddha breathe. I don't have to breathe. Don't force yourself, huh? Buddha nature is there. You don't have to keep saying, oh, you have to breathe, you have to breathe. But in fact, if you just leave that space for the Buddha will breathe for you. And another example that the Thai used to give, we have a brother who is very, very good with computers. We have several brothers, Thai Phap An, Thai Phap Kham, brothers like that. They are expert on the computer. And the younger brother, he just was told he had to be the guest, registration for guests. And he doesn't know how really very well how to use the computer program for registering guests. And so he's in quite a, I would say in English, in quite a tiz. His mind is not clear what he should do, and he doesn't know. But fortunately, one of those brothers who's very good in computers comes in and stands behind him and says, "What are you doing? What are you doing there, brother?" And he said, I'm completely confused. I think my computer has broken down." And that brother said, move aside, let me sit there. And that brother sit down, he just, a little bit, and everything is clear. And the program for registering guests is clear. So, we don't have to try so hard. We can let the Buddha breathe. Let the brother mend the computer. And if you feel that sometimes the Buddha is a little bit too distant from you, you can let Thai breathe. Because you may have seen on video, even if you didn't see in real life, a Thai breathing, Thai walking. And so you may feel that closer to you. And even if you feel that you feel very close to Jesus Christ, you can say, "Let Jesus breathe." We know that Jesus Christ practiced breathing. He said that he breathed on his disciples. So let Buddha breathe. I don't breathe, huh? I don't have to. I don't need to breathe. And then we recognize then we recognize that Buddha nature in me is breathing. The breathing is calm, the breathing is slow. That is Buddha nature is breathing. And it's enjoyable. That is the next thing we recognize. And these two, we call historical. Because we still distinguish between the Buddha and myself. So we are still in the historical dimension. And then we go on and we say, the Buddha is the breathing. That is how the Buddha manifests to me in this present moment. As that mindful breathing, that deep breathing, that enjoyable breathing, that is the Buddha manifesting, the Buddha's seed in me manifesting. And then we have to say, well, I'm breathing too, so we have to say, I am the breathing. So that is a little bit now taking a step into the ultimate dimension. There is a Buddhist ancestral teacher whose name is Nagarjuna, and he wrote a treatise that is called The Verses on the Middle Way. And the second chapter of that treatise is not coming, not going, or some no, coming and going. Huh? In some people translate as going and not going, and some people translate as not coming. No, some people translate going and not going. Some people translate coming and going, because Sanskrit is like that. You don't know whether it's a short A or a long A when it's in the middle of a word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing is that chapter is about walking, about moving, about going. And so Nagarjuna is asking us, if there is no one walking, how can there be walking? No one's walking, you cannot have walking. Huh? And if someone is walking, there must be walking. So there are these two separate things, the one who walks and the walking. And that is the way our mind works. And that is in Sanskrit you say, gacchami, huh? Gacchami, gacchasi, gacchati. And then you say, oh. Inside the verb you have to say I. You cannot say go like that. Kumara Jiva have a lot of problem translating into Chinese, because you do not have I go, you go, he goes in Chinese. But that is another matter, and I haven't got time to go into that. But here we have the Buddha and we have the breathing. But when the Buddha is breathing, there is just the breathing. The Buddha isn't thinking, oh, there's an I who's doing the breathing. So we have to go on to the next one, huh? There is only breathing. There is no one breathing. Because our language, it tells us when we have a verb, we have to have a subject. And our thinking tells us that also. Someone who wrote a book about his last days, and or his wife wrote the book, I think, and he didn't write the book. And so at the time when he passed away, she wrote, there is only air. There is no one breathing, there is only air, yeah. But I think that we do not have to wait until we pass away to see that there is no one, there is only breathing, there is no one breathing. When our dear Thai took a step, the next step into, we say into nirvana, then Thai Pháp Ứng, who was there, he sang, let the Buddha breathe. I don't have to breathe. There is only breathing, there is no one breathing. And because this was a video, I could see the film, and then I could see Thai smile. Because Thai smile said something like, yes, yes, my children, that is a teaching that I have given you, but it is not the ultimate reality. Yeah, we can go beyond the words. So these are words, they're not the ultimate reality. And then, so we can call this the ultimate dimension, where you no longer distinguish between the verb and the subject. And then we can maybe peace while breathing. and joy while sitting or walking. And then peace. The breathing. Just sitting. So I think all we need to do now is just to enjoy. We have gone beyond the historical to the ultimate, and now we are just in the world, acting in the world, and so we have peace, we experience the peace and the joy which goes along with the breathing, and then we recognize that without this kind of breathing there cannot be peace. Without this kind of sitting there cannot be joy. So the two things are in each other. So now we will look, in the time we have left, we will look at the gatha for bathing the Buddha. Hôm nay được Tam Như Lai. Today we enjoy bathing the Tathagata, the Buddha. The light of clear understanding. Trí tuệ, quang minh, and the reward of virtue, công đức lớn. Chúng sanh, beings who are drowning in the three realms, can see the Dharmakaya manifest in this Saha world. So this gatha is, you will see a baby, maybe, I don't know what the brothers have given us to bathe today. You give us a doll or a pupe, or you give us a Buddha standing with one hand up in the sky, like that. I think that, sometimes Thai preferred that we use a doll, a baby doll, because it looked more like a baby Buddha than someone who can stand up, just born and can stand up and point to the sky. And say, I am number one or something. But anyway, whatever you bathe, doesn't matter, because you'll come back, nhất tâm, you are one-pointed mind, you come back to your true home while you are pouring the water over the statue. And in the verse it says the Tathagata, that means the enlightened Buddha. And then in the next line, the light of clear understanding. That understanding which is so clear and which brings light into the world. That understanding is what the Buddha is. Buddha is my mindfulness, shining near, shining far. When we take refuge in the Buddha, we don't take refuge in someone who lived 2,600 years ago. We take refuge in that mindfulness which shines light near and far, that clear understanding, which of course has been left to us in the words of the sutra, but that's not enough. We have to find it in ourselves. So when you bathe the Tathagata, you remember that you are bathing your own clear understanding. This will help to water that seed so that it can manifest more strongly in the world, because everyone else is doing that also. And the reward of virtue, kom đức lớn. Without the practice of ethics, of morality, there is no understanding. So that practice is the result of that practice of right speech, right action, right livelihood, is this understanding. And then we recognize, having recognized that, we recognize that living beings suffer. It says in the three realms. That means in our world, but also in the world of the gods, the form and the formless realm, the gods also suffer. And sometimes we are completely overwhelmed by our suffering. But because we have laid down the seeds of the practice of the 5 mindfulness trainings, we have that kom đức, we have that reward of virtue. And we also have the light of understanding as a seed. So we do not need to drown. We do not need to drown in the suffering. And we can see the Dharmakaya, the Dharma body, manifest in this very world. We don't have to wait till we die. The Dharma body, which we see, has many meanings. It can mean the teachings that the Buddha has left for us, but it can also mean the wonderful nature that is all around us. The trees, the birds, the flowers, all those things, they are part of the Dharma body. So today we enjoy bathing the Tathagata, the light of clear understanding, the reward of virtue, beings who are drowning in the 3 realms can see the Dharma body manifest in this very world. And then I think we also will, is correct, we will chant praising the Buddha, is that correct? So we will chant this chant called Praising the Buddha, and then the one part of it I would like to read for you now. May Mother Earth, that means the nature around us, be protected and safe. May the people in the world be what? Be what and free? Equal. May the people in the world be equal and free. May the winds and the rain be in harmony. May the land be at peace in all directions, and the people embrace the path. Yeah. So sometimes when we chant in the Buddhism, it's like that. We say, may Mother Earth be protected and safe. But it's not that we are praying to some Buddha who is now living up in the sky and asking that. We are making that our deep aspiration. We want to do something so that Mother Earth can be protected and safe. We want to do something so that people can be equal and free. So when we chant these things, we are not praying for something, but we are saying, this is something I want to do, I want to contribute to. May the land be at peace in all directions. I want to contribute to the end of war. And there is very concrete things I can do in my daily life to contribute to protecting Mother Earth, to putting an end to war. Maybe the war that's already happening is too late, but for future wars not to happen, the way I practice the 5 mindfulness trainings, the way I practice loving speech, the way I practice non-discrimination and non-prejudice, tolerance, all these things are drops of the river of non-war. And of course, we want the climate to be harmonious, and we know already that there are many signs of climate not being harmonious. But still, every time that we eat a meal and we recite the 5 contemplations, may we keep our compassion alive by eating in such a way that reduces the suffering of living beings, stops contributing to climate change, and heals and preserves our precious planet. We know there is something we can do. And that when we know that we can do it together, that we will sow the seed for a good continuation. And although we do not know how that continuation will happen, whether it will happen with a human species still around or whether it will happen with a species that replaces the human species, that is, we don't know yet. But all the same, we know that we can sow the seeds, we can give rise to the energy that will be an auspicious, propitious continuation of this present moment.